I want to pick up on your comment on Anthropic. Do you believe they are a net positive for AI safety, or what's your take there?
I mean, it's very hard to say, but I think probably net negative, unfortunately. And the issue I see there is simply that you've had a bit of a too quick of a convergence on the solution to this is actually to create the AGI to solve all these problems. Before you even take all the obvious solutions of, hey, should we just call up XYZ parliament member and ask, hey, what do you think? Should we ask the public? Should we make a sort of deliberation process around this? Should we get America in one room, as I think one project has it that's doing a little bit more AI discussions now too in the US? And you know, just like all the obvious steps that come before concluding that, oh, we're going to create the alien so it can do all the things, right? And that is really putting a lot of trust in it. Obviously, I mean, it's like getting I guess the analogy goes a bit far now, but like an alien baby that you can raise and, and whatever. But I think the decision process has been too fast towards that compared to just testing everything in between. I think like one great example of this has been Gladstone AI. I think they were also a YC23 or something like this. And they asked everyone like, hey, so general intelligence is coming, obvious implications here, right? That we're talking about now as well. What are you doing about it? And no one doing anything about it. And them also asking then in the Anthropic circles, hey, so have you asked the politicians? Have you gone somewhere with it? And them just not having talked with them, but having this very large conviction, this reasoning chain that didn't really happen, which is basically that, oh, you can't say any of this to politicians. They will never understand. Normal people will never understand what's going on. And now a majority of the California public wants to control and avoid stronger than human AI. And I think there was a recent YouGov poll in the UK that also said, yeah, they want actually to have better than human AIs banned. And that's a majority of the UK population. And you're like, well, if they think that, like, it's very obvious. There's been hundreds of movies over the last 100 years about AIs doing dangerous stuff. Like, people aren't confused about it as much as I think has been the grand assumption that has underlined the development of Anthropic as an organization early on.
Right. So the counter argument that I hear about this is that you can't really go to politicians and have an actual impact because they won't listen to you if you're not a big player. A non-profit will not have will not have a seat at the table, basically. And you can actually see this with Anthropic, like RSP, responsible scaling policy, was something that I think another, to be fair, a non-profit organization termed, but like only when Anthropic adopted it, OpenAI and DeepMind started to adopt it as well. So, and shout out to Meter for being that non-profit. So isn't that a great contribution to AI safety? That now most of whenever OpenAI is releasing a model, they have this model card where they evaluate it for safety reasons. And I don't think that would have happened if Anthropic didn't adopt the RSPs. Is that to explain? RSP is basically a framework where you say, we're going to measure, every time we release a model, we're going to measure the capabilities, and then we have some threshold that if they go over this capability, then we're going to take action X. And that might be, if the capability is very high, it might be like pause development, but it might be do more monitoring if the threshold is lower. So yeah, what do you say about that? Like, surely that's a great contribution from Anthropic.
So I think the contribution itself is great, and they have these ASL 1 through 4 and 5 levels, the AI safety levels, which is similar to the biosecurity levels of labs that work with, for example, the coronavirus or something similar. How safe does that lab have to be? This is great. It was decided, it was agreed upon that all these companies got their voluntary, they volunteered to join this responsible scaling policy framework in one way or another, and they all invented their own and created their own preparedness frameworks and so on and so forth. But it was decided at the South Korean AI safety summit. And I don't know, it's great that Anthropic does this, but you can say any voluntary commitment is not enough here, because no matter what. And I think the big, I mean, I have a lot of friends at Anthropic, right, and some friends at OpenAI as well, and they're doing some amazing work, and a lot of safety development has happened there. I think we just have to like look at the facts, right, and look at the incentives that are happening, and Dario now talking about accelerating AI, right, and that's fine, I guess. But I don't know, if all of Anthropic today just began lobbying for AI safety, I think you would be in a much better situation than if Anthropic did what they do now. And one argument here is, for example, you had some of the debates recently that Max Tegmark and others ran, where you had Demis Hassabis. He's out there and is sitting in the same sofa as Dario, and Demis says, yeah, we need a technical UN for AI governance. We need a CERN for developing a public and responsible AI, and we need a form of governance control institution, a bit like the atomic and nuclear something, right? And yeah, that's great. Well, these are three fantastic safety proposals for how to make sure governments across the world have international coordination, and we can, as a species, do something good about this and make sure we don't take rushed decisions. And then you have Dario Amodei saying like, oh yeah, there's risks, but we shouldn't take them too. He could just have one-upped Demis there. And if you are out there saying Anthropic is the most safety-oriented lab, I think you're simply wrong, because Demis is out there saying that, and DeepMind in general has been working on tool AI first and foremost, because general intelligence has been quite dangerous, right? And then you have, obviously, they're owned by Google, and there are some very big competitive incentives for Google then to say you have to work on Gemini now. Sorry about that. And I think Claude is objectively better and safer than Gemini as it stands today. But I also don't think that it's DeepMind's intellectual project to develop Gemini compared to the actual scientific innovations that come from something like AlphaFold, which they obviously recently won a Nobel Prize for. And I just think you can just create very great AI without the general, and you can do fantastic things that everything we as a species want. Everything we humans want, like longevity, I don't know, free of cancer, etc. This can be solved probably with agents that aren't agents, but are simply like AlphaFold, are very innovative cancer screening frameworks, and so on and so forth. And I think, yeah, it's just not obvious to me that Anthropic is the most safety oriented here, despite what they how aligned every single individual is, but the organization as a whole.